Join me as we cook with farm fresh ingredients, a spring menu, and everything I cook in a day. I'm Suzanne. This is the farmer's wife. Welcome to my channel and welcome to my farmhouse kitchen. I'm starting off this morning with a simple breakfast, and to be honest, I really like to make simple food, and I like to put a lot of my energy into dinner. Breakfast is usually pretty simple, and this morning I am just making toast and scrambled eggs, but I'm using my own homemade bread, and I'm only feeding 3 people right now. 2 of them are leaving, so I'll have the day to myself to just spend in the kitchen and go outside collecting farm fresh ingredients. This is something that makes meal planning really simple and easy for me, is putting a lot of my focus and energy on dinner. And if I have homemade bread around, then toast and eggs is something we eat on repeat. And then I swap that out a lot of times with yogurt and yogurt parfaits in the morning. So that's just very simple for me. And I don't really have to think about breakfast. And I really like that because making 3 meals a day is a lot of work. So I like to put most of my focus into dinner. And a lot of times we have leftovers for lunch. I've been making this particular bread recipe on repeat. It's my absolute favorite right now. My kids love it. It's great on sandwiches and it's great for toast. And it's a white bread. However, I would love to turn it into a whole wheat loaf as well. So I'll probably be sharing this recipe with you soon because it's just so good. One way to make your breakfast seem different is simply to change the style of eggs. This morning I'm making scrambled eggs, but I usually do over easy or just fried eggs. And so just swapping it out for a different style makes it seem so much different. And it really does keep people from getting tired of the same thing every day. This Tabasco sriracha hot sauce has been my favorite on any egg dish. It's so, so good. If you missed last week's video, I made freezer meals, and I can't even tell you how much that saved my butt last week because I ended up getting sick, and we were able to have fabulous meals all week long because I did those freezer meals. And I still have a few of them in my freezer because the spaghetti sauce I made actually lasted for several meals. So not only is that such a great thing to have on hand, but it also allowed me more time and freedom to research more meal ideas so that I could try out new recipes in the future. And so today's video, I'm trying something I've never made before, which is pulled pork sandwiches. Now, I looked at a bunch of recipes online for pulled pork, and I kind of got the idea of what was the similarities between the different recipes. And so I just kind of made up my own thing. And I'm putting sliced onions at the bottom of my Dutch oven. And then I'm going to be putting my pork roast on top of that. And then I'm making a topping of brown sugar and Dijon mustard with a steak spice, and some garlic powder. And that's it. I'm keeping it really, really simple. And then I'm just going to be adding water to the pot. A lot of people used Coca-Cola or other things like beer, but I'm just going to keep it simple. And you know what? I like to get creative in the kitchen and use what I have. And the reason that I am making pulled pork is because these beautiful roasts were available at the store and they're so much less expensive than a beef roast. And I don't often see this cut of pork, and the price was right. So a lot of times what I do is I go meat shopping and then I create my dinners based off of what was on sale that week. And I find that that's a really economical way to meal plan. The key to pulled pork seemed to be low and slow. So I set the oven to a really low temperature of 280, and I got this in around 10 o'clock in the morning, knowing that it was just going to be cooking all day, and the house just smelled fabulous. After I was done this, I went and ran a few errands around town, and then when I got back, I went out and did some harvesting. Now, my garden isn't completely planted yet this year. It was just full of weeds, and I decided to cover it over with some tarps to kind of kill the weeds back. But I'm harvesting some bunching onions, and I'm actually planning on dehydrating these. And then here's my chamomile, and this is just my favorite thing. Harvesting this is so meditative. It smells so good, and I just love it. It's my favorite tea herb, and I didn't really like chamomile until I grew it myself. I'm planning on a rhubarb crisp for dessert tonight, and this is my first harvest off of these two plants. And rhubarb is just such a great thing to grow, and often I just get so much rhubarb in my freezer to use all winter long. But it's been a while since I've had fresh rhubarb, so this is very, very exciting. We're getting into that season where there's just a lot of things growing outside, and it's all really, really exciting. I'm watering our nursery. This is where we grow all of our plant starts. And I'm heading down to pick some radishes for my salad for dinner. We've been selling a lot of radishes lately, and they need to be grown under this netting or they will just be full of bug holes. So netting is essential if you're growing organically. And then I'm just over at my herb garden gathering a few chives. And right now I have so much dehydrating to do. I just have my dehydrator running all the time between using it to incubate my yogurt and all of the herbs, and between tea herbs and culinary herbs. I have so much going on. So I just need to keep it constantly rotating. My dehydrator was kindly gifted from London Sunshine, and I have been wanting a dehydrator like this for so many years. I can't even tell you. And I've had such crappy dehydrators over the years that I just got at the thrift store. But this is really up to my game. It comes with 6 shelves, and there's so many accessories that come with it. And it has so many temperature settings, from the lowest at 95 degrees for things like leaves from herbs, and then as high as I think 158 for beef jerky. So I will link this dehydrator down below. And if you're on the lookout, this is a really great unit. Several years ago, a farming friend traded me bunching onion seed sets in exchange for some edible flowers that we were growing for a wedding that they were helping out with. And ever since she gave me those bunching onion sets, I have been collecting them year after year, letting them go to seed so that I can keep collecting them. And that's how you just keep it going again and again. And in the meantime, you keep collecting the onions and eating them as well. And it's just fabulous to have these. I absolutely love them. They're basically like green onions, but you plant one bulb and it multiplies into around 6 bulbs. So if you let it go to seed and you just let them die back, you can collect a lot more. What I collected ended up giving me 5 trays, and I put this on the second setting at 113, and then I put it on for about 10 hours, and they were fully dried by the end of it. And it's just so great being able to dehydrate things. I could honestly use 2 or 3 of these dehydrators. That's how much I use it. Here's that beautiful rhubarb, and the leaves are poisonous, so you do not want to consume the leaves. I'm cutting those off as well as the stem ends, and I'm just getting this cleaned up and ready for later on when I prepare my crisp. I've got a compost bucket right outside of my kitchen door, and that just makes it so easy to compost because I just keep filling it, and then when it's full, I bring it out to the compost heap, clean it out, bring it back, and I just keep going. I found this really great hamburger bun recipe. It can also be used for hot dog buns. And I made a separate video showing you step by step how to make these buns, which should be out by the time that this video is released. So I'm not showing the full process in this video, but I got this started and these buns are great. So I highly recommend making them. And I won't be buying hamburger buns after finding this recipe. That dough is going to be resting on the side while I make my rhubarb crisp. And when you're cooking, you kind of need to plan out the order and the sequence of when you're going to do things. And because my dough needs to rise, it just makes sense to do that first. Now I'm going to be slicing up this beautiful fresh rhubarb. It's just stunning. The color is gorgeous, and I couldn't be more excited. I'm not measuring this out, but I know from experience that you need about 4 cups of any fruit for a pie or a crisp. So use about 4 cups of rhubarb. I'm using the zest and the juice of 1 orange, and I actually saw that combination in several old recipes from really old cookbooks, and I really wanted to try it out, and it's absolutely delicious. The tartness of the rhubarb with the acidity from the orange and that orange flavor is a really great combination. And then I'm also going to be adding 1 cup of sugar and 2 palmfuls of tapioca pearls, just the instant stuff. And I really like using tapioca instead of cornstarch in my pies. It just has a more old-fashioned feel to it. And my mom always used tapioca. I really like it. We're going to give that a really good stir and put that in the bottom of our casserole dish. And then I'm going to be making my crumble topping inside the same bowl because there's still a little bit of orange flavor left in the bowl. So I'm hoping that that will infuse the crumble topping. So we're adding 1.5 cups of flour, a cup of oats, and a cup of brown sugar, and then approximately a cup of butter. And then we're just going to mix that whole thing. And I really get in there and use my hands to mix it up. It's really the best way to mix your crumble topping. It's really difficult to try to do it any other way. This recipe will be listed in the description below if you want to try it out. I really loved it, and it turned out absolutely fabulous. I kind of made this recipe up, but I based it off of an old rhubarb pie recipe that I saw. And in that recipe, you use the orange juice to make your crust, and you use the orange zest in the pie filling. And so I'm definitely going to give that a try as well. But today, a crisp just seemed a little more simple and a little more time conscientious. Here we are a little bit later in the day. It's around 3 o'clock and the pork is done. I took the temperature, and what I read online is it needs to be above 190 degrees in order for the meat to just fall off the bone. Now I'm adding a whole bottle of barbecue sauce to the drippings, and I'm going to get that boiling down because there was quite a bit of liquid. And I'm taking the strings off of my roast, and I'm separating the meat with forks. And there's bones in this roast, so I also need to remove those. I added just a touch of balsamic vinegar to this sauce mixture because I knew the barbecue sauce would be sweet and smoky, but I wanted a hint of acidity in there as well. And I let that boil down and reduce quite a bit. And then I ended up adding a cornstarch mixture with water afterwards just to thicken it up. And in the meantime, I'm getting some grilled cheese going for some of my kids who were hungry. And this cast iron grill has just come in so handy for so many things. I found it at the thrift store for $10, and I don't regret it one bit. It's time to add the shredded pork back to the barbecue sauce mixture. And this is just looking at the perfect thickness for the sauce. And now that that roast is out of the oven, it's free for me to cook my rhubarb crisp. I'm putting it in at 350 for about 50 minutes. I served up that grilled cheese for a little late lunch, and then the rhubarb crisp is done. It's golden and beautiful. And now my buns are going in, and I put the temperature at 400 degrees. These are going to go in for 20 minutes. These buns are that perfect, soft, and airy kind of texture that you need for a hamburger bun. And they've got wheat germ and honey in them. So they're really delicious, and they've got a bit of a healthy kick to them. And I just love this recipe. So that's why I decided to share it with you guys now that barbecue season is coming on. And these are just needing to cool off a little bit. This is kind of that rush hour towards dinner where I need to get everything done in time. So I made a nice simple salad with our own homegrown lettuce from our farm, radishes, and a simple oil and vinegar dressing. The pulled pork with the buns, and I just kept it very simple with some red onion and some pickles. And it was so flavorful, so delicious, and everything just felt so fresh that you just don't need to overcomplicate things. Keep it simple, keep it delicious. This meal was thoroughly enjoyed by everyone, and there's even leftovers for lunch the next day. If you enjoyed this video, hit that subscribe button. I make new videos every week on food from scratch, homemaking, and life on our farm.